Hi, my name is Mark Iskowitz. I'm editor-at-large for MM+M, and welcome to today's webinar, The Next Marketing to Healthcare Professionals, Driving Effective Point-of-Care Campaigns. We're sponsored by DoCare, the point-of-care marketing company, and before I hand things over to Dr. Harshit Jain, founder and global CEO of DoCare, and the author of the book, The Next Marketing to Healthcare Professionals, I'll just say a few words to let you know what to expect. As MM+M readers will recall, it wasn't long ago that the term point of care conjured up images of simple poster-size ads in doctors' offices, or signage in the pharmacy aisle. Such traditional POC marketing as the physician wallboard is giving way to digital point-of-care platforms. But this shift in effectively reaching clinicians using the POC channel isn't necessarily an intuitive one for marketers and publishers. Dr. Jain, an entrepreneur and former physician, recently examined the virtual point-of-care marketing ecosystem, and in his new book, The Next Marketing to Healthcare Professionals, he shared his recommendations with businesses to optimize communications to prescribers. Luckily for you, you don't have to wade through all 248 pages. During this webinar, Dr. Jain will aim to summarize what he feels are the book's most salient points. Some of the themes he'll be touching on today are the power of an effective POC messaging campaign, database learnings to customize messages to an HCP specialty, ways to educate HCPs about financial assistance programs, understanding the optimal path to reach doctors, the role of analyzing behavior patterns of providers for enhanced digital interactions, and driving script lift through an AI-enabled analysis of solutions for messaging campaigns. Harshit has worked in the advertising industry for over 10 years, including about 6 leading teams at McCann Health and other agencies, not to mention his training as an internist. So I know you'll gain a lot from this presentation. And just a few housekeeping items. This is a 30-minute webcast with approximately 20 minutes for the presentation. There'll be roughly 10 minutes at the end for Q&A, so be sure to submit your questions to the webcast dashboard, and we'll queue it up for Harshit. Okay, I'll now hand things over to Dr. Jain for his presentation, and I'll be back on to moderate the Q&A portion. Take it away, Dr. Jain.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for inviting me, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining this webcast. I would just like to introduce myself, and Mark, I think, did a great job, but to dwell a little bit more, because I feel the background has become very useful for me to kind of understand this point of care space, both from a user perspective as a healthcare professional and a content creator perspective while I was in advertising, and from a media perspective as well. So I'm a trained healthcare professional, but last I practiced was internal medicine back in 2006 at Northwestern, right? And my area of interest was hematology, oncology, right? I used to use platforms like an Epic and numerous other EHR platforms on which write patients' notes, write patient orders. And then I decided not to practice medicine without knowing what will I do. But I had some series of ventures in health tech and big data, in healthcare communication, and most notably in the advertising space. Worked with one of the large IPG agencies in global leadership roles across 3 continents, where the agency was responsible in creating most engaging content for healthcare professionals. Right? So I could see the other side on how to create the content which a healthcare professional really likes to see, right? Not what a brand wants to communicate, right? So spent 7 years there in different markets, learned a lot, and then decided to quit to start DocCare. We present ourselves as the first global network of physician-only platforms for programmatic marketing. And the DocCare intent was to create a channel to communicate to healthcare professionals, right? So I feel I was blessed to get great knowledge of being a healthcare professional, understanding the needs, because that's inside me, part of my DNA probably, and then working in advertising, and now trying to bring a channel for effective communication with HCPs. So what is next, right? Recently published this book, The Next Marketing, because when I entered this category, I realized that there is not much published in this category, right? And if you see, the more publications, the more it is written, the more people are able to read, understand, and grow the category, right? So knowledge is shared. So I decided to take it upon myself on how can we document learnings, how can we document best practices, what is happening in the category, which will potentially help in growing the category, right? Because we should learn from other people's mistakes and failures so that we are able to move faster, right? Interestingly, I think during the pandemic, right, a lot moved very fast. Everything got accelerated, right? Because all the traditional ways how life sciences brands would reach out to healthcare professionals would not work, right? Our sales reps were grounded, all our events were cancelled, right? So brands had to really depend only on digital to make it work, to engage with physicians at that busy time, right? And I feel it kind of worked beautifully from a brand's perspective, because they could really try out that media and find out how it works, right? And that is our attempt as well, how to continue help the industry in advancing this channel, advancing this media, because the developments that happened on the consumer side of the world, it took almost 15 years to reach where it is from a digital marketing perspective, where investments grew from 5% of the overall marketing budget to over 60% now, right? On the HCP side, I strongly feel we are at a very strategic position in which those 15 years can be shortened to probably 3 to 4 years, with the entire way how the category is shaping up. So really looking forward to the next marketing to HCPs and looking forward to play a role in that direction. So today's webcast, the focus is on a point of care as a channel, right? And it is often called by different names: point of practice or point of prescription, right? So the focus is point of care messaging to healthcare professionals, right? As precise as it can be, because there is a large category in point of care which is messaging to patients as well, right? So look at the definition of point of care as it is defined by the Point of Care Marketing Association, right? It's defined as a moment patient receives care via an interaction with the healthcare professional in a healthcare setting, right? Now that healthcare setting could be face to face or it could be virtual as well, right? Would include a doctor's office or a pharmacy or a hospital, right? Any opportunity where there is an interaction of a physician or any healthcare professional with a patient, right? When you look at the point of care media, it could be targeted to patients, could be targeted to providers, could be targeted to caregivers as well, right? And it is usually delivered, right, before the interaction, like when the patient is in the waiting area. At the time of interaction, that's where providers come in, where most communication on the point of care happens at the point of interaction, right? And after the interaction as well, right? Whether in an outpatient setting or in a hospital setting. And the intent is to encourage more discussion. Intent is to improve the conversation and engagement between a healthcare professional and a patient, right? Because there is enough and more data to support how that helps in improving patient outcomes, right? If you look at data on EHR or point of care as a channel is growing, right? The EHR adoption has grown significantly in the last decade, right? So statistics say it's almost 96% that hospitals in US are using one or the other EHR solution, right? Most of the over 90% prescriptions are now electronic, right? Which is great because that is all the data is now available to, which helps marketers, which helps clinicians, which help administrators to continue to improve patient care, right? Virtual care it increased significantly during the COVID times, but it has gone down a little bit, but it is here to stay, right? Even post COVID, the total number of consultations have grown by over 38 times, right? And the overall budgets have grown significantly in this category, right? And I attribute it primarily to the possibilities that exist on this point of care channel, right? uh, Point of care, we often include platforms like EHR platforms, telehealth platforms, and electronic prescribing platforms. So these are three categories of platforms which possibly kind of are there when a physician is interacting with the patient, right? And it is that moment, right? It is that opportunity how a brand can communicate a message effectively to the physician or any healthcare professional for that matter, without being intruding, right? Because you would not like to disturb the physician or take away the physician when he is talking to the patient, he is in front of the patient, right? So apart from traditional brand awareness messaging that you do on any other programmatic channel, right, you could do moment based messaging as well in this channel, because it is that moment when a physician just saw a patient with diabetes or just wrote a prescription of insulin to a patient. It is that moment that matters when you are able to communicate the brand benefits, right? And that's the potential this point of care media has. Patient affordability programs, right? We know that the utilization of patient affordability programs has been less than 20%, right? While there is so much that can be done at the time when physician is writing a script for the patient to improve the utilization of the copay programs or other patient affordability programs, right? Special programs like dispense as written, where physician could write a specific message to the pharmacist, right? To This can help brands who are nearing patent expiry, right? Patient recruitment for clinical trials, right? If you review the way how patient recruitment currently works, it works on retrospective data, right? While this as a channel is the moment, right, when the patient who fits the right criteria is sitting in front of the doctor, the physician can initiate a conversation about recruiting the patient on the clinical trial when he is getting diagnosed, when his treatment is being decided, right? Next best action sequence models, right? 100 the All the audience that you're targeting on this channel is 100% identified. You are able to get access to 100% physician level data, right? And because you're able to do moment based messaging, you can create those sequences, right, which are required to communicate to a target audience effectively. These are just some of the possibilities, right? And I could go on and on with the endless possibilities of how to use a point of care channel. I have attempted to include many more in the book Next Marketing, which is available on Amazon. But today's session, I want to kind of focus on 10 key messages, right? And trying to simplify 10 things to remember to run an effective point of care programs. Because I see often at times this is considered as any other channel, like any website in the programmatic space. This channel is special, right? This channel gives you so many opportunities because physician is in that mindset, he is in that space where decisions are being taken, right? So let's go to the first one is understand the audience, right? Most important. I have seen most brands, right, come up with, they start their campaigns with a list of NPIs, right, with a list of physicians that they want to reach out to. But one mistake that I have seen is when brands go to different platforms, right, they find it very difficult to overlap the lists on which physicians are you actually reaching on which platforms, right? So that a unified effective reach, you don't have an idea. So it's important to get an idea on which physicians are you effectively reaching on which platforms, right? That will give you an idea on your effective reach, and you can plan your effective KPI metrics as well, right? So I would highly encourage to always ask for that flagged list match files from your partners, so that you know which physicians you will potentially reach through which partner, right? The second one is target HCPs behavior change and not the health systems. Often at times I hear is, oh, can you reach physicians on a Epic or a Cerner, right? And then I try to explain to brands that, are do you want to reach out, create a campaign to change behavior of physicians, or you want to change behavior of health systems, right? So the audience is important here. And in US, if you know, an average physician uses over 10 EHR platforms, right? Even if he's working in an IDN, any health system or anywhere else, an average healthcare professional uses about 8 EHR platforms, right? And if there is a need to create those specific programs targeting health systems, it's not the point of care which is the right channel. Potentially account based marketing options should be evaluated, because there you could target audiences in those defined health systems, right? So focus on the audience in that channel, and not focusing on an institution or an account, when your objective, the behavior change that you're looking from, is from the physician, right? uh, Third is, use different tactics to communicate your message effectively, right? As I mentioned before, like point of care as a channel brings immense possibilities to engage with your targeted healthcare professionals when they are making a decision, right? So uh, strongly encourage our brand and agency people to think outside the box, to think outside of standard conventional display messaging, right? Because the possibilities are endless, and you can go to any level of personalization to reach that moment, which will help the brand, which will help in getting that script, right? The fourth one is, uh, don't expect a physician to click on your message, right? When he is on the point of care channel, when he is sitting in front of the patient, right? So click through rates are not a metric when it comes to point of care channel, right? It's the scripts that matter, not clicks, right? One thing I've seen which is easy to remember is, when we look at the KPI, right, for any campaign, we often tend to decide which media should we go after, right? And we kind of look at it from two perspectives, whether it is a lead generation media or is it a script generation media, right? If you're looking for clicks, you want to take users to a website, look only at the lead generation media, right, which is primarily non-endemic. But if you're looking to grow your business, if you're looking to increase the number of scripts, right, then focus only on script generation media, right, which includes the point of care channel, where point of care channel dominates, whether it's an EHR or a telehealth or electronic prescribing, all falls under this category of script generation media, right? Because it's the scripts that matter, not clicks for this channel. Right? Uh, Always consider adding telehealth platforms to your point of care marketing mix. I hear from a lot of our partners that, oh, telehealth is only limited to some mental health consult or skin health conditions. Right? It is not wrong. It is correct, because the number of consults that happen in the skin care and mental health category are a lot more than the other categories. but we see consults happening in oncology, in other chronic diseases, in a lot of other disease indications, right? And because you have created your campaign, which is a one-to-one targeted campaign, your message will only be delivered when that physician is using the channel, right? Otherwise the message would not be delivered, right? So I strongly encourage to include telehealth platforms in the mix, right? Because that experience is virtual. A physician is looking at a screen in that interaction. In a EHR interaction, a physician is sitting in front of the patient, and the entire situation, the entire experience is very different. The opportunity to communicate your brand message on telehealth platforms in particular, uh, uh, it's a great opportunity which should not be missed. Right? The next one, and I feel it's one of the very important ones, is point of care messaging is now programmatic. It wasn't the case probably a year or two ago, but now point of care messaging is programmatic, right? Gone are those days when it used to run like a black box where you would just put in dollars and get a report at the end of the program, right? Now it is programmatic. You should have access to a reporting dashboard. You should review your performance on those campaigns week on week, month on month, see how they are doing, right? And you should continue to optimize the performance of those programs, right? Because there are lots of opportunities to optimize them. You can optimize your target list, you can optimize your messaging, you can optimize those moments, right? When your scripts are being written, when those brand prescriptions are being written, right? And so point of care is now programmatic, though that expectations needs to change, right? The expectations from this channel need to be a lot more, because think of it on the consumer side, right? You compare it with the point of sales, right? How more sales happen on advertising on e-commerce platforms because decisions about sale are being taken. This is exactly the same, a similar experience on the pharmaceutical side where a prescription is being written, right? And that much potential this channel has, so expect that from this channel. Okay? And always ask for user level data from this channel, because 100% of the audience of the impressions that you deliver on this channel are programmatic, right? So you have access to full physician level data to look at how each of your physicians are doing. What can you do additional to cater to a different segment of physicians who may not be responding to a message? You can have different messages for different segments of HCP population, right? So always ask for that user level data, that physician level data that could give you access to lot more insights, and also planning on return on investment for your programs, right? I remember, I think few years ago, uh, special studies had to be commissioned at the end of the program duration to find out did the campaign work or not, right? And think about it, by the time you have already burnt the dollars, right, there is nothing that you can do. So those learnings potentially helped a year after if you would like to make changes on the program. But now, in this age of data and technology, right, you have access to those dashboards through which you can assess ROI on a month on month basis, on a week on week basis, make those course corrections so that you are getting advantage of these dollars this year, not in the following year, right? And there is so much more that would come in the future because of the kind of data that is present in this channel. No other channel, right, brings so much data that can help life sciences brands change healthcare professionals behaviors, right? With that data, right, you can create your next best action programs, right? You know when a physician wrote a script, in a completely privacy compliant, HIPAA compliant manner, right? You can create a next best action program, send him an email, send him a text message, send that message to a sales rep who meets that physician, or to the MSL who is meeting that physician next week to talk about that in particular. Right? So today is just a glimpse. I just wanted to present few simple points that you can potentially remember to create effective point of care programs. They are not complex to do, very easy to do these programs, right? And it is just about the power of the data. It is just about the power of the moment that this channel brings to us. Yeah, so I'll take a pause, and a lot of the learnings that I described, a lot of points that I described, are also available in the book Next Marketing to Healthcare Professionals. It is available in ebook, paperback, on Audible as well, on Amazon. So go ahead and order. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Over to Mark if there are any questions.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jain. So I'd encourage the audience to and ask questions using the Q&A button on your dashboard. We do have a few minutes left here with Harshit, and you did mention the book, The Next Marketing to Healthcare Professionals. Can you explain how you came up with the idea of writing it, and why did you choose point of care marketing as the book's theme?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. Like I always used to, so being on the agency side, right, at McCann, I had the opportunity to work on both the consumer side of the business as well as the healthcare professional side of the business. Right? And on consumer side, we used to read on MM+M and a lot of other channels about why a campaign was successful, what was the idea behind the campaign, what were the insights, etc. Used to go to award shows to learn about the success of campaigns and how brands have grown. Right? While on the healthcare professional side, on the pharmaceutical side, I really lacked that reading. I really lacked those learnings, right? And I always thought, how can I bring those learnings to people? Because there are so many professionals in the category who are so many professionals in our category are filled with knowledge. They have immense experience of several decades, and they want to share, right? So created Next Marketing as a platform through which I can help in bringing about those knowledge, those experiences to our category so that this category grows and progresses.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. It's a field that one can continuously learn more, as healthcare itself changes. So I know what you mean in terms of being passionate about learning. You worked for a good deal of your career overseas, as you mentioned earlier. How does the point of care space look outside the U.S., and how can this country set an example for other countries to adopt best practice?
So US, I think definitely on the point of care side is way ahead of the other markets, right? In terms of how life sciences brands are using point of care as a channel to communicate effectively to physicians. All the other markets, if you see, look at Asia or Europe or Middle East, right? They're all in different stages of adoption of EHR as a platform, making it mandatory. I think following a US model, making it mandatory for physicians to use EHR, making electronic prescriptions mandatory. Right? And those number of e-prescriptions, I would see ranges from like a 5% to 35% across markets in Europe, Middle East, and Asia. So there are advantages that those markets have because the number of EHR platforms are not in hundreds, right? They're in single digit or double digit. But the adoption is where most of the effort is really going in taking users, and brands are definitely looking forward to those opportunities.
Sure. Okay, we have time for one more question here. This is from Himanshi. Thank you. Can you give a real-life U.S.-specific case study for point-of-care marketing for on the telehealth platform, and what the pharma company did, what were the challenges and the end results? I know it's a lot to squeeze into 30 seconds, but I'll put that over to
Yeah.
you, Dr. Jain.
No, happy to. I think there are lots of case studies and happy to share more. Would request if you can send me over email or a LinkedIn message. Very happy to share detailed case studies, how brands use telehealth as a platform effectively to communicate brand messages and grow the brand.
Okay, great. That's a wise course of action. And with that, that's all the time that we have for today. I want to thank Dr. Jain for an excellent presentation on summarizing what you feel are the most effective campaigning methods to efficiently utilize this channel to reach prescribers. This session is being recorded and will be available for streaming on demand in the webcast section of our site for 1 year post-event. And the slide deck is also available, and you can download that via the handouts button on your screen. As Dr. Jain mentioned, if you want to get case studies or you have other follow-up questions, you can reach out to him on LinkedIn or through MM+M as well. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you again, Dr. Jain, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark, for inviting me, and thanks so much, everyone, for attending the session.
Absolutely. It was our pleasure.